There is a major breaking news story coming out of the Department of Defense today, and nobody is talking about it. It is going to change everything, not only for U.S. military personnel, but eventually for everyone in the United States who has any association with any kind of a license. Any kind of a license. Now, I've mentioned before, a long time ago, I served in the U.S. military, was Army intelligence. In order to be part of the MI Corps, you have to get a security clearance. Now, joined at 19, so at that age, you haven't really had too much of a chance to make decisions that would give them a reason or give them pause in granting you the clearance. But as you get older and as you progress through your life, you have options and decisions and choices that you make that sometimes make them think twice or sometimes confirm their belief that you are worthy of security clearance. But you're only usually reinvestigated when I was in, it was usually between 5 and 10 years. They would go back through and check and make sure that you had dotted all your I's and crossed all your T's and paid your bills and not gotten any trouble. Well, guess what they're doing now? 5 October. This is from the ArmyTimes.com. All Department of Defense security clearance holders are now subject to continuous vetting to keep them. What does that mean? That means now with the advent of computers and networks, they're going to be able to watch every choice made by anyone holding a security clearance in real time. And if they make a wrong one, it's going to go right to DOD. Traditionally, the agency that bestows security clearances on government employees reinvestigates those candidates on a cyclical basis, usually every few years, checking on their credit reports, criminal histories, and so on once every several years. But a new vetting process means the Defense Department and employees of dozens of other government agencies will continuously scan background check databases and have any new events sent straight to investigators immediately. The Defense Counterintelligence and Security Agency announced Tuesday that all DoD clearance holders are now part of its continuous vetting program. This means that if an employee comes under criminal investigation or forecloses a home, multiple agencies will ping DCSA with the news immediately. At the same time, DCSA software will automatically scan those databases for new information. Previously, the agency did background checks every 5 to 10 years on roughly 4 million DoD clearance holders, which meant that it could be years before an event that would disqualify someone from holding a security clearance was caught. For instance, DCSA Director William K. Litzow told reporters Tuesday, continuous vetting recently picked up an employee with a fugitive arrest warrant for an attempted murder and assault. Now, he hadn't been convicted. There was just a warrant issued. The key is that the alert information developed through the DCSA continuous vetting system was received and validated 5.5 years before the subject's next periodic reinvestigation, whether he was convicted or not. He said, meaning DOD might not have to know about it for another half decade. In that case, automatic scanning of databases caught the event rather than an investigator having to vet each individual manually. And he goes through and they talk about other supposed wins for this system. Now, some of you are probably asking, well, that's great. I'm not a security clearance holder. But how would it affect me, Florida Mucky? The number one disqualifier for security clearances, most think it's drug use. It's not. It's financial problems. The vast majority of individuals who lose their security clearance, whether they're a civilian DOD or whether they're in the military, has to do with financial problems. Now, what causes financial problems? Usually lack of money. Most of the time it's poor choices with buying too much or running up credit card debt or all this type of thing. But it's usually always a lack of finances. Now, who grants the ability to work in this country? You have to have a government license to work in this country. If you're going to have any kind of a job that pays any real living wage at all, you're going to need to be trained and licensed by the state, whether it's nursing or whether it's anything else, contractors, you name it, electricians, plumbers. You can go right down the list. And even if you're just going to get a regular job, say like a bartender, you still have to have some type of an ID. You got to fill out your W-4 forms. There's a civilian version of this. There are all these private background check providers that are tied into this. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen all the different advertisements, Seal of Security, and AskTheSeal.com, license, insurance, criminal checks, all sorts of providers. And what they do is they create a scoring system, meaning they don't necessarily say, do hire this person because they're really good, or don't hire this person because of this specific reason. What they do is they go through everything they can find on a person's background, and then they assign different events in their background a score, a number. And they basically say, okay, if the person is over this number, we want to hire them. If they're below this number, we don't. They don't care about the details about what got you a high score or what got you a low score. It's just a score. Now, back here in the article from Army Times, the effort feeds directly into DoD initiatives to monitor extremist affiliations and behavior, including the objective to be better able to intervene. That could eventually include monitoring social media activity. But all the way at the bottom, in addition to service members and many DoD civilians, DCSA is working to enroll the rest of the federal government. So far, 30 agencies have signed on. The VA, the FAA, Health and Human Services, General Services. The goal is to have the entire federal government on that system by the end of 2023. Now, I wonder what score they are going to assign vaccinated versus unvaccinated. Because they're going to know. Because those who've been vaccinated, they're going into a database. And they're just going to look at that database. And if that person is in there, they're going to get so many points assigned to them. If you're not in that database, you don't get those points. And though that might be a critical amount of points needed to attain a certain job. Now, it's a backdoor way around mandates. Because they'll be able to say, well, look, it's not because he was or wasn't vaccinated. He just didn't get the score that was required to get the job. And there were 100 factors that we looked at. So unless you've got an 850 credit score, have never made a mistake in your life, have paid every bill on time ever, you've never associated with anyone online who knew someone who maybe did something bad, you're likely not going to qualify for certain jobs. And this is how they're going to do it. And they're going to make sure that if you try to complain about it, nobody sees and nobody hears. It's just going to come down to what many of you have already correctly ascertained to be a social credit score. It's just going to be a background check that they're going to be able to do in real time every single day, every minute, every second. They're going to look at every event. And so eventually they know people are going to run out of money. People are going to run out of money. So it really is going to matter. Where are you? Because in some places, if you have the wrong people in charge, they're going to make it mandatory that every single business that wants a business license subscribes to that system. And that they require them to do background checks. And only people above a certain score can be hired. And the insurance companies are going to get in on it. Say, look, you have to have all of your employees be above a certain score, or we're not going to provide business insurance for you. And the government will say, we won't grant you a license to operate a business unless you have this amount of scores amongst so many people. And once again, it won't have anything to do with one specific reason you didn't get a score or another specific reason. It's just going to be the number. Say what you want about billionaires, they're not stupid. And just to back up what I said about financial reasons, security clearance disqualifiers. This is militarybenefits.info. All the way down here at the bottom, they confirm this. Areas of concern: allegiance to the United States, number one; foreign influence, foreign preference, certain behaviors, personal conduct, financial considerations. But all the way down here at the bottom, the most common reason for being denied a security clearance: financial issues. They don't care about liberty. They don't care about conventions. They don't care about what the opinions of the people of the states are. The only thing they care about is being in control of everything all the time. They are far worse than King George ever was. Speaking of Washington, D.C., and believing that somehow in 2024, electing somebody to sit in one particular chair in one particular wing for 4 years is going to change this. I just think that's naive, to be very honest. To go forward, some people would say, well, Florida Maki, what's your solution? To go forward, patriots need to acknowledge the Union has de facto dissolved. They may not admit it in D.C., not going to read about it in the paper. But as it stands right now, the Union is dissolved. And we are 50 states. And we need to accept that as the reality. And that our only real hope will lie within the state where we reside. People of Missouri, don't expect Illinois, right across the border, to be governed like you are just because you're both part of America. Arkansas, Mississippi, same thing. Florida makes no pretenses about Georgia. And just to cover what I said yesterday, when you run out of ammo because you've spent so much time popping at targets with hay bales behind them or sitting on hay bales, and you can't get any more because they ain't selling it, or you don't have the money because you can't find work anywhere, because you can't get a score high enough to qualify because of a certain choice made a long time ago. Do you see how that doesn't fix things? That actually how it makes it worse? That's what they're going to do. They're going to just have a score. And they're going to look at this, and anybody in the database is going to get a boost to their score. Anybody not in the database won't. So you're going to have to make up all those points somewhere else. And as stated in the article, the goal is to have the entire federal government, meaning everyone who issues a license to anyone to work anywhere, on this system of continuous vetting by the end of 2023. And 30 are already on it. So you probably don't even have that long. So I guess I'll just leave it there. Criminals don't follow laws. They don't acknowledge the Constitution. The Union is dissolved. We are now 50 states. Make sure you're in the right one. God bless. Like, share, subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.